Hey guys, it's Ethan back again with another digital graffiti art video. And today I'm making the designs for my parents' Christmas presents. They both ended up with a graffiti design this year because my dad specifically suggested a pinball sign for his collection in the basement. And I figured, hey, why not just make one for mom too while I'm at it? So we're doing a bit of a 2-for-1 special today. And he wanted something in like the 80s style, like kind of pinball-esque style, from that kind of era of kind of like 80s style graphics and whatnot. So I wanted the letters for pinball to be pretty exact when it came to like the straight edges and proportions of it. So I ended up getting a CAD software to help me out with this, because Photoshop's lines are, I don't know, it's just not as consistent as using a CAD software. And I think the one that I'm using is QCAD or LibreCAD. I think it's LibreCAD. There's a couple of different free softwares out there that you can get for doing, stuff similar to this. But, for this type of thing, I need a couple of tools to make straight lines that Photoshop and Illustrator and all the other programs don't seem to have. Back in my architecture days, I would use this kind of software a lot. You can get lines of exact length going at an exact angle, and it's a lot easier to line things up. You can offset lines by an exact amount. Just a number of very helpful things for drawing straight, very technical lines or drawings or anything like that. So it's going to be a bit of a splicing of different tools from different softwares to make this all come together. But it's really nice that I can just copy and paste elements so that they are exactly the same, and I could put them in an exact distance away. You don't always want something so technical, but for this project, for this set of letters specifically, I figured might as well make it really nice. I wish I had the full AutoCAD from Autodesk. It's a little bit better than the one I'm using, but I'd have to actually pay for that one. I like that there's so many free services you can use instead of having to pay for the more expensive and better quality ones. You can still get some quality work done on free software. And then once I got the outline done, I needed a border and outline with some thickness to it. So I just offset every line by a certain amount on both sides to give me an outline that I could just lay on top. And a lot of this project was spent just making sure that all of the lines for this pinball style were all there. There's so many little lines to extend or move. There's actually an element to these letters that ends up getting lost with these outlines in the end. There's like a little chip out of a few of the letters, or like a little indent. And as soon as I throw the outline on top of the solid letters, it like takes away from that. But pretend you don't even see it. Sometimes things just get accidentally cut out as the project goes along. It was starting to feel really tedious right about here. And I just had a couple of letters left, but I had felt like I've been doing the same couple of steps for an eternity already. Yeah, even sitting here, I'm wondering when I'm going to get on with it and get to the next part. I guess I kind of had to let my like OCD brain take over for a second to make sure I got all these things in the right place and make sure they all lined up properly. If I wasn't so, I guess, determined on having completely straight lines, this wouldn't have taken so long, but, you know, for the theme, I figured it had to be exact. But I finally got to the point where I could take those outlines, print them out, and put them into a different software where I can take those shapes and fill them in with what I need. And I've even got the outlines filled out as well. So I had a separate set of blocks for the inside of the letters, and then a separate set of lines to house the color blocks for the actual outline. And then eventually I'm going to separate them into their own layers, lay them on top of each other. I tried to use Photoshop's line tool here, and I didn't really understand that the line tool was the one that I was using was completely separate from the draw tool. So I like sat there drawing these lines that weren't showing up like you would draw on the page. They were more so like guides that weren't showing up. And I hadn't used Photoshop enough to know that you can just like hold down a button and draw and it'll make a straight line for you. So the whole time I was thinking to myself how great it would have been to do this in one of the other softwares. What I used to do before I got more comfortable with some of these better softwares is I would just know which 2 or 3 tools I liked best from each software, and then just bounce the design around, bounce the file around between them. And eventually, I would have like a combination of those tools or filters or whatever it was from all those various sources that made it look good. But Photoshop is nice to where I'm starting to learn that I can make pretty much everything I need to in one spot. I don't have to be bouncing it around. I don't have to be taking some of these like extra measures that I'm taking. But yeah, as you can see, I'm using these black lines as like guidelines. They're not actually there. I could have drawn them so that they were actually there, but I didn't know how to at the time. It's funny how I gained a little bit of knowledge in between drawing this and recording this audio. So I can look back and be like, oh man, I would have saved myself so much time if I had known this one little trick. I think it worked out though, even though it wasn't exactly the same type of feeling I was hoping for as far as like the line drawing goes. And then to give the outline a little depth, you can just copy it and paste it right underneath, offset it just a little bit, and you know, bada bing bada boom, you've got some depth. This part looks pretty crazy, but this is kind of like the layer I just made where I gave the letters depth, but separate from everything else, so it looks like a whole bunch of blobs. This part I decided to throw on a very cool kind of kaleidoscopy kind of I don't know, some kind of digital, ethereal look that would be the block of the letter coming out of the image. Not quite a shadow, but like it was coming up out of the image like a, I don't know, like a button out of, I don't know. Not quite a shadow, it was kind of like its own light. And then this grid is gonna be what really gives the image some depth. I noticed a lot of the older styles, I guess the 80s, digital, cyber, kind of cool video gamey style always has, you know, some nice glowy lines on a grid. Make you feel like you're in the Matrix or something. And then of course I had to get the colors to be, you know, pretty neon looking. This is gonna be like maybe even Tron-esque, you know what I mean? Very neon, very bright, but with some interesting kind of fading as well. So it's not just completely overwhelmingly bright. And then while I was actually making this grid, I was talking to my brother Aaron, and he told me that the lines needed to be smaller and they needed to be more frequent. And I told him, you know what? You were right. And I've been thinking that this whole time, but I wanted to be lazy and not do it. So he got me convinced to actually go back and make the lines a little bit skinnier, which I think improved the look overall. I was just hoping that I could get away with it without being lazy. But I found another way to be lazy. I made half of it, and then I just copied and pasted it So now I have 2 halves. And this does look a lot better, like immediately. I enjoy having the skinnier lines. We're getting towards some of the final details as far as background and placement go. So after I kind of reposition everything, kind of figure out exactly how dense each color has to be for this background. Got to put some highlights in. Yeah, I think that ends up looking pretty good. It's a little darker right under the letters. And it gets brighter as you go deep into the web of lines. And then finally for the fill in, it was kind of just a reverse of the colors for the background. Bright neon-ish yellow, not yellow, bright neon blue and pink, or I guess cyan and magenta, which are my favorite colors. 2 of them, really. So there's pretty much the idea that I kept seeing over and over again was this kind of cool pink and blue grid digital kind of style. I thought it would be good to emulate for this pinball sign. And to kind of personalize it, put my dad's name on there, make the sign say Pinball Jamie's. Sounds like another arcade near me called Pinball Pete's. Thought he'd like that. And I'll go ahead and show a final image of that at the end, but for now we're going to move on to my mom's drawing. And this did not take nearly as long, simply because I did not care so much about the lines being perfectly straight. I didn't really have a particular kind of like font idea like I did with the pinball design. There wasn't really a theme to go with this. So I picked a kind of nice swoopy, flowy design. And while I was drawing it, I decided it was gonna be fur texture. And I hadn't ever drawn or painted fur before that actually had good texture. Last thing I did with animals, they were too small to even have good fur texture on them, on the paper or canvas. So here I decided it would be a great time to investigate and see what I can do. So after getting the outlines put down, I started filling in and looking for a good texture for fur. And they simply did not have one in Photoshop that was good enough for me. So the one that I'm using right now, I actually bought from an artist named Jazza. Anyone who's on YouTube and who likes art has heard Jazza's name. He's got his own set of digital brushes for things like Photoshop and a few other of the drawing apps. And he has some very, very good digital brushes. The fur brushes or I guess they're hair brushes that I used were very nice. There's multiple strands multiple strands of hair per line that you draw, I guess. So you can very quickly add on a bunch of fur, a bunch of hair all at once. And it made it easy to add more consistent highlights and more consistent shadows within the fur. So thank you, Jazza. If you ever watch this, you won't. But if you ever do, thank you. It's very nice, these brushes. One of the only things that I felt like I would actually use over and over again and actually pay for out of the Photoshop library of brushes, I guess. So after I threw in all the fur, I kind of cleaned up where the extra fur was sticking out, and then it was time to kind of remove the red outline. I wanted the fur to be, like, I guess visible. I wanted the lines in between the letters to be visible, but not harsh. And I think I pulled it off pretty well. I think it's still pretty readable as Princess, even though some of the hair texture kind of flows into itself, makes it slightly hard to read. But you know, I haven't had anyone say that they can't see what it says. They all seem to understand, so I'm not too worried about it. And then I needed to throw in some color underneath the fur to kind of give it some depth around the edges in the middle where maybe they weren't getting hit as hard. I wanted to make sure it wasn't just floating hairs, that it had to look like it had some body to it. And that was pretty much it for the design. I gotta be honest, I wouldn't have finished it so fast if I didn't have that dang paintbrush, that digital paintbrush from Jazza. It would have taken me a lot longer without it. And since the fur idea sounded so cozy, I went for a quilted looking background. Some nice little sewn together or stitched together quilt squares. And I thought that would be nice. And after kind of putting those in a nice grid pattern, I could copy, paste, change the hue and saturation, and basically make 4 new colors and just stick them right there. Nice and easy. This is why I like the digital stuff so much, is you can put what's on your mind onto the paper a lot quicker. And of course I had to add a little shadow to show kind of where the outline really is. Not too big of a shadow. And then to match my dad's design, I added a nice little Nichole, my mom's name, in neon to it. We're pretty much at the end, so here's my plug. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please come through to my website at www.thick216.com. All my favorite designs are there. Come through to my Instagram where I have all of my published works, only bangers on my Instagram. My Redbubble page features all of my best designs on some wonderful merch. All kinds of clothing, mouse pads, hats, anything you can think of. Shower curtains, stickers, laptop cases, phone cases. Here I am displaying a nice hoodie, classic design, a pillow. Who could do without a pillow? Nobody. Everyone needs a pillow. Very soft. We've also got prints. Any kind of print you could want. Posters, metal prints, framed prints. We've got zipper bags, zipper pouches. Put every pencil, every pen you've ever had in there. Mouse pad, desk pad, game mats. Anything you could think of. I've even got a bath mat and a shower curtain. Also come through to my TikTok, small videos there. And then my YouTube for all my full-length videos. And Fiverr if you want me to make art for you. Thank you again for making it to the end of the video and watching me make these designs for my family for Christmas. And then to my family, thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, Mom and Dad. Hope you like the designs. And thank you for watching my video on this Christmas-ish day. Don't know if you watched it today or the next day, but thank you. Go ahead and follow me on YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, Redbubble, Fiverr, Twitter, Instagram. Thank you very much. Have a good one. Happy Christmas.